היי חברים, זה אייל. הגעתם לפרודקט בילדר, ופה תוכלו להקשיב לשיחות המוצר הכי מעניינות. המסע שלי החל ב-2012, כשלמדתי מה זה פרודקט בסטארט-אפ שלי. מאז עבדתי בתעשייה, ומ-2017 החברה שלי מייעצת למגוון חברות. הדרייב שלי הוא לעזור לכולנו להשתפר כאנשי מוצר. ולפני שמתחילים, אם אתם נהנים להאזין לפרודקט בילדר, דרגו אותנו בבקשה ב5 כוכבים בספוטיפיי. זה ייתן לי אחלה פידבק שהפודקאסט נותן לכם ערך, וזה ישמח אותי מאוד. אז יאללה, מתחילים.
Hey Avigail, how are you?
Good, how are you doing?
I'm good. So, with us is Avigail, product director at Duda. Welcome.
Thank you.
Can you tell us a bit about Duda?
So Duda is a website builder platform that is built for digital agencies and SaaS companies to either offer website building services to their customers or also integrate the platform into their SaaS offering in order to expand their product offering overall.
Wow, that's a good explanation. And is it only on web, also mobile apps? How it's like?
Just websites, yeah.
And how long have you been there?
4 years, 4.5 years now.
Oh, yeah. Okay, cool. So you are quite familiar with the company. So please explain to us about the industry, competitors, etc.
So I'm sure many people are familiar with some of the competitors that we have. Obviously, there's big names out there like Wix, Squarespace, Shopify, etc. But of course, while they're website building platforms, our focus is very specific in terms of the type of customer that we are focused on. So we're not focused on the SMB at all. We're not marketing at all to businesses who are building a single website, but instead we're really marketing towards businesses who are going to be building multiple websites a month, could be even thousands of websites a month.
That's cool. So I guess that the go-to market is quite different from the competitors you've mentioned. Can you elaborate more around that?
Yeah. Obviously, we're going for digital agencies who are offering many different services to their customers. So the website is, of course, at the core, but then on top of that, they're offering SEO services, digital campaigns, etc. And you need to find them at the right time. Either they're first starting out or they are looking for a new platform for building their business on. So we need to offer more capabilities beyond just the website itself, helping them to scale and grow their business overall. Or, in the case of the SaaS company, then we are trying to find SaaS companies that have a relevant product, that it makes sense to build websites into the tools that they already have.
Got it. And how is this different in terms of, when you go ahead to the market and you offering your goods, right? You cannot start, the starting of the company couldn't afford having all these toolbox that you currently can offer. From where have you started?
Yeah. So Duda started long before I joined. So there's a long history that I've heard, but wasn't necessarily a part of. They started before responsive websites was a thing that existed at all. So they were offering the ability to make your website relevant for mobile. And from there, over time, they pivoted and shifted towards this focus on being a website platform for agencies.
So yeah, the idea was kind of like Microsoft, let's say, gain the audience and then start selling them all in one stop.
Yeah.
Sweet. So what are you in charge of in terms of products?
So in Duda, we have 3 R&D groups. Each one is focused on a different area. So we have the group that's focused on our core website builder, called the Websites Group, of course. And then we have e-commerce, focused on e-commerce and a few other capabilities in terms of building data-oriented websites. And then we have my group, which is called the Scale Group. So we are made up of 3 squads. And 2 of those squads are focused on making our customers more productive and efficient throughout their website building process. So, of course, that can mean a lot of different things, a lot of different features, can change from one quarter to the next. And then we have a 3rd team that's the payments and app store team, so focused on our pricing infrastructure and app store offering, etc.
Okay, so when you're talking about efficiency, I guess that's one of the things that your clients care about the most, probably, right? When you manage lots of websites for your customers. What are data-oriented websites?
So we have websites that are built off of what's called a collection. So it's basically a database of information. So they might be a real estate website that needs to display 500 real estate listings. So they're going to pull all of that from their database and display it dynamically on the website.
Cool. So when looking on those products, do you have like specific competitors? I totally understand that you mentioned Wix and probably Elementor, that both of them are Israeli and work with the same audience probably.
Yeah.
Lots of agencies.
Yeah.
Do you have a competitor that actually says that I'm working solely with agencies?
There are maybe some smaller, less known companies, for example, European-based website builders that maybe others are not familiar with that do have an agency focus overall. And of course, there are arms of each company that really double down on the agency group. But I would say many of our customers are, we would say we're competing against WordPress in their case, because they have the flexibility to do whatever they want. So WordPress is not necessarily marketing just to agencies, but a lot of the times that's where we're bringing agencies in from.
And where do you think that Duda shines?
Because we're so focused on the type of customer that we're offering, every feature and products that we build is based off of the fact that they're not just building a single site. So, of course, we need to have that core offering that allows them to build a very engaging, beautiful, feature-rich site. But it's the layer on top of that that makes us uniquely focused on these businesses who want to go from building one website for one customer to building 100 websites for 100 different customers and growing from there.
Could you tell us a bit about your challenges at Duda?
Of course, there's competition. We're talking about big companies out there that we're competing with that have much bigger teams. So again, it goes back to that core of making sure we really know who we are and who we're focused on. And the ever-changing, world of websites, whether it's from the design side of things and having great animations to whether it's like allowing people to build websites with AI. Of course, we always need to keep up on top of all of those different things that are coming up.
So you're saying it's basically around churn to make sure that every customer remains by offering the right tools as the competitors?
I think on the churn side of things, it's not necessarily one of our biggest business challenges right now. Of course, there's acquisition. And in the age of AI, everyone is promising a website in 30 seconds. So our agencies also have their challenges. They need to have more customers in order for them to bring us more business. So in the end, we are competing against those build a website in 30 seconds offerings out there, even though we're not offering to actually build a website for the SMB directly.
Yeah, I couldn't start with acquisition, so thank you for that. And I'm wondering how the sales cycle actually looks like in such a product.
We have two different types. We have the self-service offering, sign up for a free trial, 14 days, pay for a plan. Don't need to talk to anyone if you don't want to. You can, of course. And then we have the sales-led. So we have the bigger accounts who are ultimately purchasing a custom plan. They can be large-scale agencies. The SaaS companies, of course, are going with the custom plan because they need API access, etc. So we have those two different models. Of course, sometimes they meet in the middle. Some are coming directly from the trial into sales, and some are just going straight to sales for a conversation.
Got it. Can you elaborate more about the initiatives you're doing around AI, for example? You mentioned that, so.
Yeah, so we now have various different AI features where we've integrated generative AI models into the platform. Anything from generating a piece of content in the website or generating a section of the site, which means the layouts, the images, the text, etc. And then we also offer AI in the side of SEO and accessibility, so allowing users to generate the meta tags, which is what shows up on Google when somebody searches for the website, and also alt text for images, so what the screen reader sees when someone is using a screen reader and navigating through a site.
Cool. Probably you can offer more recommendations and stuff like that, more insights, right?
We're starting to move more into those areas, but we focused more on the build side and what tools we can offer for our customers to leverage within the platform itself to help them build faster websites. And then as we move forward, we'll turn to other areas.
Yeah, because that sounds really interesting. If you have many websites from the same industry and the specific website doesn't have a specific section that everyone else has, or at least the benchmark, that could be a great insight, right?
Yeah.
But it's way more advanced, I agree.
Yeah. I mean, we have today page recommendations, for example. So we look at what pages you have on a website already, and we'll recommend additional pages to add so that you can build a more content-rich site. Or a lot of our customers work in a model where they're charging by number of pages on a website. So it will help them to sell to their customer, hey, maybe you want these 3 additional pages added. It will help with your traffic, and also gives them the value that, something that just comes up for them that we're able to suggest.
So yeah, I really love this collaboration between you and you as Duda and the agency. What kind of other handshakes do you have with the customer besides offering add-ons to offer for his customer? What else do you guys do around that?
In terms of how we help the agency sell better to...
Yeah, and education and everything around it, because their success is your success, right?
Yeah. So Duda's a white label platform. So we have no interaction with the SMB. Who the agency is selling onto. But what we can do is offer them different tools, white label tools that they can use to sell on the different things that we're offering, education side of things, any built-in capabilities that we have in terms of performance, etc. So helping them with SEO, making sure the website is performing. Ultimately, the agency is not selling just a website. They're selling the conversions that website is getting, whether it's traffic, contact form, submissions, or sales on an e-commerce store. So what we need to do is help them actually get to that delivery, not just a beautiful website, but really what kind of business are they bringing to the SMB? And that's where we try to help them as much as possible.
So you also ask them about the actual conversion that they are trying to improve around?
We know the context of the business that they're trying to build and what kind of features that they're adding to the site. We don't necessarily ask them that today, but pretty easy to figure out what kind of goal, what industry, etc.
So what do you think are the key product skills that a product manager should have?
I think it's very important for a product manager to, one, being able to try all different things. Being willing, I should say, to try all different things and not just stick within your domain or stick with what you imagine to be a product manager. I think it's important, that you're ready for something to change from 1 hour to the next, and that happens, and take it with grace and move forward. So very flexible, dynamic, and open to doing new and different things. And I think it's also important that product managers are willing and have the skills to take calculated risks. Overall, that one, they can define what is a risk, how big of a risk is it, and then that willingness to actually go ahead and jump into something that you're not 100% sure of.
So another thing around that, which might be super relevant, I guess, is a skill that I really admire, is also the ability to reflect the risk, right? To, let's say, raise the flag at the right time and say, okay, that's going to be a risk in X time from now, and here is what we're afraid about. And then, we can do a brainstorm together and understand how to do all the things you just mentioned on how to manage that risk, right?
Yeah, definitely. I skipped all to me, what's obvious in terms of skills for a product manager. You need to have the communication and transparency and collaboration and, being able to, as you said, communicate what you see, figure out solve that problem together. So to me, those come, as an obvious requirement for a product manager. And then it's on top of that, what's going to make them really grow and be able to push and drive innovation in their role and everything else.
Cool. I think it's key to talk about risks with your supervisors, your team, whatever. It's key.
Yeah.
Okay, let's talk about your bio and how you got into product management.
Yeah. So I didn't really know what I wanted to do when I was in university. I just went for, I think it was a communications degree. And from there, just started trying out different jobs, different things, marketing, biz dev, etc. So I started actually in the diamond industry.
Diamonds?
Yeah.
Okay, where have you done that?
Here in Ramat Gan.
In Ramat Gan, makes sense. Okay.
Yeah. Doing biz dev and marketing for a diamond company. And after a year or so that I was with them, I decided I had enough of Israel, actually. And I wanted to move back to the US. So I quit with no specific plan, no direction. And then I was offered to take a short-term role in Hong Kong. 3 months doing a very similar job in another diamond company. And again, I took a risk.
How old? Yeah, I'm actually listening to that. And
Yeah.
how old were you when you done all this?
I think I was 20.
So you manage the risk, basically. I'm 20 and I can do...
I'm 20, 3 months, never been to Asia. Good opportunity to check it out. And worst case, I hate it and I'll come back after 3 months. And I was there for 4.5 years, I think.
Oh, wow.
So 6 months with Diamond Company and the rest of the time with the baby furniture company.
And this is where you learned some things that actually you're using right now?
Yeah, so I spent a lot of time doing the global marketing for that furniture company. And originally they were just selling in stores or through online resellers. And we decided to build our own e-commerce site. So that was my first touch into online, a little bit of product management in terms of the build of the website and working with the developers and everything else on that. And that's where I saw that I had much more passion for that than I had for what I was doing on all the other aspects of my role overall. So it gave me an idea of what direction that I wanted to go in. And at some point I quit. And I left and I said, where else to go for high tech other than Tel Aviv?
But wait. So you've been working there, you gained some success, you learned lots of stuff, probably, right?
Yeah.
About how to market and sell high ticket products, I guess,
Yeah.
and your way around digital marketing, etc. So how come you decided, okay, I'm going to leave everything here and just like start again?
Yeah. Two aspects of it. One is, have you been to Hong Kong?
I did, 12 years ago. Yeah,
Did it feel very spacious for you?
you did.
It did? Okay. So if you live there for 4 years, it's not spacious at all. It's very intense and, it just becomes too much. Living there was an amazing place. I made my best friends that I still have today there, but it's just, you end up living from vacation to vacation because you just want to breathe and not live on top of each other and pollution even, you literally feel it. So I wanted to leave Hong Kong in general, and also I wanted something new in terms of my career.
Yeah, now I'm actually remembering the size of the apartment that we left. And yeah, that's so true. But the food, I guess it's
it distracts it,
yeah. And from there, so you went back to Tel Aviv and you wanted to get into high tech, but where have you started there?
I started freelancing. I knew I had no experience in high tech. The likelihood that somebody was going to take me for a role that I was interested in was probably pretty low. But I said, let's take a risk, take a chance.
Wow, that's a big risk because many Israeli companies back then actually was looking for native English speakers, and you can probably get into that, but you decided to go ahead and freelance. So
yeah, I think every role that came up to me, somebody recommended me for, was more on the sales side of things, which is definitely not my passion at all. So I didn't want to do that. But on the flip side, I knew I don't have experience in high tech. What's the chance someone's going to take me for a role that I am more interested in? And I'm still not 100% sure what I want to do. So I'll just try out different things. And so I spent a year freelancing, all different types of companies, types of projects, anything from very large organizations of thousands of people to small startups of a couple of people.
That's great. You rolled the dice and you actually succeeded in terms of working with different industries, different, I guess, clients, etc. And you help them in what? Digital marketing?
Marketing, content writing, project management.
Everything you just mentioned.
Yeah.
Wait. And what happened then?
And then one of the companies that I was working for offered me a full-time position. They're called Segvanta, a SaaS platform for market research. So basically democratizing market research, especially in large organizations like Procter & Gamble that have a market research team, but it's a very expensive asset. So they developed a tool to allow other teams like their marketing team to perform market research that's approved by the research team, but not actually performed by the research team
A white
themselves.
label solution, I guess?
So I was offered a full-time position there. It was a customer success position, but I saw an opportunity to join a company at a relevant stage where there's a lot of room to grow. If the company grows, of course, then there's a lot of room for me to change what role I'm working on, to get exposed to many different aspects of working in a startup and see where it goes from there. So I went for it. And they didn't have a product person in any sort of role in the company at the time. It was kind of the CEO and the CTO just figuring things out from one day to the next. And that's where I figured out that they needed a product manager and I needed to figure out how to be a product manager. And I basically taught myself and became ultimately there the VP of product strategy.
Wait, okay. That's wow. So let me understand this. When you started working there, you didn't know, or did you know that you want to be a product manager?
I think I had a little bit of an idea, but I didn't go with a certain mindset of I'm coming here and going to create a product manager position or there's any opportunity for it. I had kind of gotten exposed to this role through the freelancing and through the e-commerce project and reading and everything else, but I still didn't really know what a product manager was.
So we're talking here about two different risk-taking, right? The first one was to quit your freelancing gig and then get, I don't know how big was your business, and get into this company. And then again, to move into product and be the VP product, probably not from day one, but to learn a new profession, right?
Yeah, which I guess that felt like less of a risk to me. It's just something that happened naturally. And I think I just started doing the role of a product person, maybe not even realizing that that's what I was doing. And in time, it became more obvious and I started talking to more people and learning more about product management. And then it was, okay, finally I found the career and the role for me. And now I'm serious about it. And now I want to see where I can take this.
Yeah. It seems like it because you've been in Duda for 4 years and probably some time there in this company. But I'm starting to understand something about you, I guess, that the idea of taking risks is actually not being afraid of change. That's key, right?
Yeah.
And then you need to just believe in yourself, believe in the idea that you took, the facts that you know, and then just run with it, right? This is exactly what you've done.
Yeah.
So from that company, how did you move to Duda?
So I was with the company probably in a product position for 3 years or so. And in time, I realized that I loved being in a startup of that size, but unless they were going to grow exponentially in a short term, I was never going to get access to enough data to be able to say I'm a very data-oriented product manager or, I worked with millions of users or anything like that. So I knew I needed to take a leap, go somewhere else to allow me to learn. And then I found Duda.
Cool. So I'm not sure about the timeline, but now I understand that if we're talking about 4 years from now, it was like basically around 2020, right?
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah.
So you done that while there was a pandemic, etc. Took the chances.
Yeah.
Lots of risks here all around.
I think I joined Duda one month before we went into lockdown.
Okay, so we're aiming here for February 2020.
Yeah.
Wow, the timeline is amazing. So what happened there? Like you started there as a director or you climbed your way up? How was it?
I started there as a product manager of a squad. At the time, it was called the Collaboration Squad. And also at the time, the R&D makeup was only squads. We didn't have groups at that time. And then from there, things changed within the company, within my role.
Can you elaborate more about the collaboration?
Yeah. So pretty standard in terms of what you might think on a SaaS platform. We allow our customers to collaborate either with their clients, so their clients can get a set of very granular permissions to access a website, whether it's just to look at it or to actually go in and make edits, working with their team members, and also kind of all of the tools that are not collaboration on paper, but we define them as such, which is all of the dashboard area of the platform. So being able to define the custom branding for the white label capabilities, the place that you view all of your websites, etc.
Sounds interesting. You actually been to the intersection between the clients and their clients.
Yeah, yeah.
That's if we're talking about risk taking, then you actually understand from these while you're doing discovery. It's actually way easier to understand what these your clients actually need, right?
Yeah. Again, we can't actually talk to them, which is one of the challenges that we have if we only know what we hear from our direct customers, the agencies themselves. But it gives an opportunity to really get deep and understand exactly how they work with their clients to allow us to understand more of what they need beyond just the stock standard collaboration tools.
So from there, you mentioned that like at the beginning of the episode, you talked about the collaboration and like the team changed its name, right?
Yeah. So I want to say 2 years ago now, maybe a bit less than that, we shifted the R&D reorg to have 3 groups. And at that time, we were trying to figure out how we're going to focus these groups, what their goals are going to be, and also where our opportunities are. And it had become clear that collaboration is important, but it's a bit table stakes in terms of SaaS these days. You need to have them. You need to have, great capabilities, but we want to do more than that for our customers to help them scale their business. So Scale Group was born. And from there, also the focus of the squad itself changed from collaboration to more the productivity side, which is where we are set apart from other website builders.
Collaborate on a larger scale. That's the idea.
Yeah.
Okay. So was it a success so far?
Definitely.
Yeah?
Definitely. Yeah.
Can you tell us more about it?
So I'll first start with the challenge. One of the biggest challenges of switching was we no longer owned a predefined feature set. Of course, we kept all the features that we already had, but from there, in terms of where to go next, wasn't about a specific feature area. It was where are the challenges for our customers, most often challenges that they don't even realize or opportunities that they don't realize, what is slowing them down and what's going to help them be able to build more websites faster expand the number of services, change their team makeup to allow them to really grow their business over there. So from there, it became a lot more discovery, a lot more risk-taking in terms of making sure that we hear the customer problems, but also hear what they're not telling us to find those opportunities that they didn't even think of themselves in order to make them more efficient, automated, etc.
So it's interesting, I guess, that for these agencies, their KPI is the top revenue, right?
Yeah.
What is the KPI that you are aiming for as Duda? No, I mean, in terms of helping them to be more efficient, let's say.
Of course, we want to see them growing the number of sites that each individual account is building. So, of course, we want to convert more accounts, but what happens over time is if they're only building one website, they're only of X value to us. We want to help them free up their time or free up their resources to allow them to sell better to their customers and then from there build more websites.
So let's talk about risk-taking. You mentioned it before and let's dig into it. So you encourage your employees to do, or everyone in Duda to do the same?
Yeah, I think for me as a manager of product managers and product designers, the thing that's become more obvious to me over time is making sure that they have the confidence and the trust to know that you're going to have their back in order to allow them to take more risks, move quickly when possible. I think I'm only able to do that because I also, had those experiences myself of taking risks, whether they were small or large. And it's definitely something that I try to pass on as much as possible and give them the confidence and tell them to just, go for it with the right confidence, the right information, but to go for it.
So first of all, you encourage them to reflect the risk to you, right? This is probably not a default setting that the human has, right?
Yeah.
And then after you encourage them to do so, you actually talk with them about the risk. And is it usually that they come with the risk baked enough that you can discuss it, or do you need to help them to actually get to the point? How did this actually looks like?
I think most people are naturally risk averse. So it most often comes as the opposite of we can't do that because we don't know XYZ. Or we can only do that in 3 months because first we need to do this discovery, or we only have this amount of information, etc. And so it's trying to push them to be more open to it so that they can ultimately come to me with the version that you're saying, where they're coming to me with the risk, and then we're talking about how can we make the decision based off of that.
When will it bite me, right?
Yeah.
That's the question usually.
When will I be the one who's in trouble?
Right, that's right. What actually helps a product manager or product designer, of course, to reflect and to manage risks better?
One is making sure they really understand that it's not going to be you did something wrong, or your mistake. It's us. We're a team. I have your back. Of course, we need the transparency. We need that discussion of what kind of risk are we trying to take and to make the decision together when relevant, but to understand that it's not about is my job on the line decision. It's are we going to potentially make the product better for the amount of risk that we're taking? Is it worth it? And also, just examples of certain things that have worked, certain risks that have been taken. And I think once you get that first experience of taking something that you thought was a risk at the beginning and it worked out, you can already see like the eyes light up and the gears start turning in terms of what can I do now that I learned that it's not that bad.
Can you share a few examples around that? Let's start with something simple if you have any idea.
So something very small is when I was the product manager for the squad, we rewrote our site list, just the list that somebody views all of their projects, their
kind
sites
of like a drop-down or menu of the client of the different websites that he manages?
Yeah, okay. So it can be a long list. They can have thousands and thousands of websites.
Good for you.
Yeah. And we had a lot of data points there. It was, very legacy code, old design, and over time, just things had been added there. And we wanted to clean it up. We wanted to improve the user experience, focus the users on exactly what they need to know at that given point in time. And there was a lot of discussion of, well, we're going to get so many support tickets and they're going to be yelling at us because we're going to take the direct link to some internal tool that they can access in 100 other more logical ways. If we take it away from them, what's going to happen? And in the end, made the decision to put the bare minimum. You can always give people more, but taking things away from people is harder. So if you're going to do it, you better go for it.
So let me understand this. So first of all, the approach was to remove the Band-Aid in one hit. But there were two risks here, I guess, that I'm hearing. First of all was the UX risk or the business risk that what if someone won't be able to find what he or she used to find, right?
Yeah.
And I don't know how you manage it. I mean, it sounds like you just filtered the list and just kept the relevant things. But there's also the code, the technical part of things. You wanted to remove that, right?
Well, that was definitely the goal. The main goal there was to clean up tech debt, remove legacy code, and also simplify as much as possible on both sides of things, technically and also from the user experience side.
So let's assess this risk together for a sec, okay? So it sounds like if we'll keep this, it will keep continuing creating problems or CS tickets for us to handle, I guess, and maintenance. And the other thing, and that's one. I don't know how many tickets were created till then, but probably it was big enough and of a number for you to act upon. But also there was the problem of the UX of things, right?
Yeah. The first one was more on the developer side of things.
They pushed it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So on a mission to just remove legacy code, taking one area at a time. So you can say, the risk there is we're doing something that's much more focused on tech debt than it is on adding new features to our customers. But now let's wrap it in a better user experience, a better first-time impression of the dashboard area, a cleaner way to access things, etc.
So there was a risk to not do it as well, right?
Yeah.
To remain still. I mean, also in terms of technical business and also your relationships with the dev team, probably.
Yeah.
So have you listed a few scenarios that could that could happen. That's what you mentioned, right?
Yeah. So also like you mentioned, communicating the risk is important between me and the product managers on my team, but very important to communicate the areas of risk to the dev team themselves and say, these are the points that we know are risky. So just know that we might come back 2 weeks later and tell you the risk was too great. We need to go back and make a change. So a lot of the times we have in the bottom of the spec is things to know. Just so you know, this might happen. We need to be prepared. We need to understand what would be the effort to make that change based off of feedback that we might get. So it's a lot of playing on different scenarios and preparing all of the different parties involved for understanding that there can be a cost. We could be wrong in the end, but we want to minimize the impact of being wrong.
I love it. And today with Gen AI tools, it's kind of easy to actually come up with these ideas or risks, but also, I guess, to assess them, right?
Yeah.
The probability that it will actually happen.
Yeah.
Wow. So it was a success, right?
Yeah. Yeah. In the end, we have a much cleaner dashboard and very few complaints, and very happy that we went with that.
Yay.
Yeah.
Are there any more examples that you can share?
Well, you touched on Gen AI. So I think that entire world has risk right now because it's constantly changing. Even if you choose one model today, you might be taking a risk that tomorrow there's going to be a better model or a better company that you want to integrate with, etc. But for us, the biggest risk there was the decision to build our Gen AI features differently than the rest of the market.
Please tell us more.
So I think we touched on it earlier about websites in 30 seconds. And we also touched on the fact that in the end, our customers are delivering quality. They're not delivering speed. And the reality is that a website in 30 seconds is probably not a high quality website in the end. It's not going to deliver on that promise that our agencies are giving their customers. So we wanted to look at our AI features from a different angle. One, how can we build Gen AI features that are going to give the most value to agencies looking to scale? Because that's the promise that we're making to our customers. And the second is, if we're going to go in the direction of helping them build websites, how can we make sure that we're not exchanging speed for quality, but still giving them speed? And this has been a process, a lot of risk-taking, a lot of learning, a lot of guessing. But in the end, what became very clear to us is that our agencies need control. They need control over the result, and they want to make sure that they're a part of that result, and we need to build the features to support that need that they have.
It's interesting. I mean, when you're talking about results, how did you manage this risk? Like, what kind of results? What happened if X will happen? Like, how was that?
Yeah. Let's take, for example, the ability to generate a page of a website. So again, it's going to be all the content, the layout, the images, etc. The risk there is multi-factor. One is they don't like the layout. Maybe they like the content, but they don't like the layout. They don't like the images, but they like everything else. And so many different elements, they're getting one shot in their face, and then they either like it or they don't. And I think anyone who's worked in product or just as a consumer themselves, usually you try something once, you don't like it, the chance you're coming back is very low. It's much harder to bring somebody back after a bad experience than it is to, give them a good experience in the first time or get them to try it out the first time. So what we didn't want to do is come with something that, wasn't going to be anywhere near their expectations. They weren't going to be happy with it because we knew that it would be so hard to get them to try again. No matter how many optimizations we would do, we would spend so much work trying to bring them back.
For sure. And how did you manage this risk?
So a lot of trial and error. I think, the UX designer on the team, the product manager, was an experience for them, and they're amazing in terms of all the different variations that we played around with internally, not things that we released, but different things that we tried of how can we balance this control in terms of the results that they are getting with the speed side of things. So breaking things into phases, making sure that we have some validation, some feedback from the user before moving to the next step. Giving them the opportunity to do everything in one shot if they are that kind of user versus another user who wants to do something in 3 steps because they want to make sure I like the layout. Now let's move forward. So, if you compare that to a website in 30 seconds, it's not as fast if you're going to go in multi-step, but it doesn't matter if in the end you get, 20% are happy with the result versus 80% are happy with the result, but you saved them a bit less time.
That's interesting. I mean, also another thing that you've probably done is to actually show that to users before it's ready and get the point of view of the actual process. And this is how you came probably with that personalization that for like multi-step versus seeing the entire thing, etc. How about like, have you thought about maybe, sharing 3 layouts at once and then starting to get the idea around that? Like, have you tried other approaches before launching this idea?
Yeah, we thought about different approaches like that, but, there's always the cognitive overload. And again, already the user is making the decision of whether they like, and then 3 different aspects of a page: content, images, and layout. And now you're going to give them times 3 in terms of decisions to make overall, or you need to decide what elements are you going to change in each variation in order to get them.
No, I meant like before, like Wix done it before, I guess, something like that. That you can first select the layout style, and then you can start moving around and see, the entire layout sketched out for you.
Yeah, so what we did do in the end, and it was after a lot of different variations and talking to users, etc., was we allow them to go and either choose the layout manually and build the page themselves, just the layout, and then they can go and apply images and content, or they can go and do just the layout and then apply afterwards. So it's flexible. In the end, you work the way that you want to. You can go as fast as you want to go. And then, of course, we're getting feedback along the way and optimizing all the time.
Yeah, so that's another thing that you've added, like any AI feature, I guess, that you get feedback and you optimize accordingly. Are there any risks there that you managed as well? Like, what happened if this won't work and we need to roll back? Like, how can we do something like that as we just announced it? Like,
we didn't go as far on the risk of releasing something that we thought we would have to roll back. We knew we would have to and want to make optimizations over time. So I think with a project of that scope, you want to manage the risk as much as you can to not go to a place where it's going to go as far as rolling back. Again, the issue of it's harder to bring people a second time than it is to bring them the first time. So that was, I think, one of our biggest fears, our biggest concerns was not being good enough the first time. And then you're just dealing with the aftermath of that, no matter how hard you work on it. And it can be so frustrating in the end. So we definitely tried to avoid any scenario that would look like that.
So another approach to managing risk is to always remember your vision and act upon it, right?
Yeah.
That sounds good. Any other examples you might want to share? That was a really good, and it was a success, right? This is why I'm like moving forward.
Yeah. We're continuing to make optimizations, but we're also continuing to expand the capabilities to more areas based off of what we learned from it.
When launch happens or when like every period of time actually passes, do you actually communicate the risks again to your team to actually says, wow, we nailed this, and now like how does this look like? We're always assessing and regular check-ins, whether it be on the group level of what happened with the risk that we took, or where do we stand in terms of getting towards the place that we want to be and optimizing. And then, once you take that bigger risk, you can still take smaller risks along the way in terms of changing what you did, optimizing. It can even be a prompt, in terms of the risk on the quality of the results. It can be something, completely behind the scenes that will impact the experience of the user. And so it's things we're playing with all the time. Yeah, it's also worth mentioning that you should also prioritize your risk, like not any risk worth all this process, because it won't be affecting the business in high level. But wow, Avigail, it was so interesting and educational. And I was so happy to hear my thoughts reflect from you, because I'm managing risks all the time. And it was quite interesting, and very interesting, actually. So how can people actually contact you and learn more about risk-taking, or maybe positions at Duda, or just to, get your advice about something?
LinkedIn.
Yeah,
Checking
that would be-
messages there. So yeah.
Cool. By the way, are you looking for product managers, product designers right now?
Yeah, at the moment we are hiring a product manager, and we have regularly new positions opening, product dev, etc. So
Sweet. So
Yeah.
if you want to take risk.
yeah, with a good team.
And what do you actually wishing? That's going to be interesting. What are you wishing for you in 10 years from now? So many risks.
Yeah. Always a hard question to answer. I think when we talk about risks, the biggest risk would always be starting something myself. So as much as I'm a risk taker in work, I think now that I have a child, maybe a little less of a risk taker on my personal life side of things, because I always think about the potential impact on her. But I would hope that in 10 years, I would have had the confidence to do something like that and really, take a big risk that would affect, my personal life side of things, but would be kind of where I've always, dreamed of.
Well, I wish you exactly that. Do you have any piece of advice from the route that you took for junior product managers or product wannabes on how to get into product?
Just being willing to try things. Anyone who's asked how to get into product obviously has heard that there's no clean, obvious way to do it. So you just have to try and be willing to do something that maybe wasn't exactly what you signed up for. Otherwise, it's very unlikely you're going to get to where you want to be.
So work hard and take risks.
Yeah.
Sweet. Avigail, it was such a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye bye.
היי חברים, תודה על ההקשבה. אם מצאתם את הפודקאסט הזה בעל ערך, תוכלו להירשם, לעקוב אחרינו, כמובן לפרקים נוספים בספוטיפיי, אפל פודקאסט או כל אפליקציה אחרת. כמובן שאם לא מצאתם אותנו באיזושהי אפליקציה, אשמח שתכתבו לנו. נשמח מאוד ל5 כוכבים בכל פלטפורמה ושתעקבו אחרינו כדי שעוד מאזינים יוכלו להיחשף אלינו ולמצוא את הפודקאסט. אתם גם יכולים למצוא את הפרקים הקודמים בכל אפליקציה או בערוץ היוטיוב, יש לנו לינקים בתיאור. אז עד הפעם הבאה, יאללה, תהיו יעילים וביי ביי.